Happy Wednesday, or not Wednesday, almost Wednesday at this point. Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to patch 1.4.0 for December 10th, 2024. This is Town of Salem 2. This is a huge patch. I was still teaching while this patch went live. I went over it. I'm going to give this is like my initial thoughts, just going over the patch. And then we'll dive into everything individually. There's a whole bunch aside, but I'm glad I'm not dealing with the community right now. Let's just put it that way. All right. So, hey, Townies. This patch marks the end of Season 3. It took about 4 more months than it should. And Season 4 off-season. Oracle, coming over from Better Town of Salem 2. Which is good. Another TP that is very evil claimable. So, during the night, the Oracle may select a town role to cast their Aegis over. Any players in the game with that role will be protected with a barrier. The Oracle cannot select the same role 2 nights in a row and can only select Oracle once. So, it is a AoE cleric that has to guess roles and can't go back to back. Definitely a good addition to the game. It's easy to claim as evils. It can be very good if you know what you're doing. I know that some people, oh, it's just better TOS 2. Well, this is a very safe role addition because there is a lot of roles that need fixed. So why add another socialite? Right? Okay. Game updates and changes. Added the anonymous players modifier. Every player's cosmetics are randomized. Players will use the name of their skin instead of choosing a name. Something tells me this is coming to ranked. If I was a betting man, I would say anonymous players modifier is coming to ranked. All attacks but saved messages will no longer tell you the attacker's role. That is something that Better TOS 2 has that I think is perfectly fine, especially good for a ranked game mode. Adding, the anonymous players modifier. All attacked but saved messages will, oh, I already read that one. Effects. Oh, that's not a part of anonymous players. That's just straight in general, which makes sense. That helps evils. So that is a buff to all evils. Effects that block visits such as jail, parties, and smog, and we'll get to smog in a bit, will now use a generalized unknown hostile message, taking that over from Crusader. I'm glad they did not change Crusader. All neutral evil roles will now start with basic defense, but will lose it on day 3. So Jester now gets defense. And Pirate gets defense, and now that will go away after day 3, which makes sense because you would hate to. I remember games where, night 3, I whack the Executioner. Neutral Apocalypse roles are mutually exclusive. There is a neutral Apox cap again, which is good because the neutral Apocalypse should not be you win because there's 4 of you or 3 of you. It should be you win because you play well enough to transform. Now, they could buff some of that as well, and I'm sure that's something that they'll balance later, but I like the Apoc Cap back. And then they added 4 Horsemen back in as a modifier. That makes sense. And it's up to 4. It doesn't mean there's 4. It just says there's up to 4. Apocalypse members can talk together and win together. Apocalypse members start their defense, and Apocalypse members, except for Berserker, appear suspicious to sheriffs, which comes over from Better TOS 2. Hangman has been removed from all roles. That's another better TOS 2 change. Added 116 new lobby icons. Jeez, a lot. Added Prosecutor Silhouette, which we'll get to at some point, right? Just another video. It's not like there's 50 of them or something. Added new icons for Common Town and Common Coven. Added a new icon for creating and clearing a role deck in custom. Added a new splash art for Season 4, which is behind me. Trickster, Vigilante, Deputy, and Prosecutor can now be the VIP. And then role updates and changes. This is where we get into the big stuff. Pirate overhaul. At the start of the game, Pirate will have 3 targets known as landlubbers. The Pirate will know the landlubbers' roles, but not know who they are. The Pirate wins once all 3 landlubbers have perished. So this is Inquisitor. A good way to make Pirate not so much a pain. And Inquisitor is a role that is liked very well. And that means that Pirate now won't live. Deputy. Rework. Deputy is no longer unique. Deputy no longer reveals themselves upon a successful shot. Deputy now has a basic attack. Deputy will miss their shot if their target is town aligned or has basic or greater defense. Enchanter / Soul Collector's frames will affect this shot. And upon a successful shot, other deputies cannot attempt to shoot until the following day. So one deputy shoots and potentially gets an evil person who doesn't have defense. Which I like this version of deputy coming from Better Town of Salem 2. Over the current deputy, it is less likely to throw gangs. Which is the goal, right? Because how many people complain about deputy random shooting? That's gone away now. Vigilante has been reworked, and this is something that Curtis has been talking about since July. Vigilante now needs to load each bullet individually instead of loading all 3 bullets on night 1. If Vigilante doesn't shoot someone at a night and has an unloaded bullet, they will load it. Vigilante now will put their gun away instead of dying to the hangman. So, you could not shoot for 3 nights, then have all 3 of your shots. Or you could, shoot night 2. Well, you need to load night 1, shoot night 2, then you would load night 3, shoot night 4, things like that. And then prosecutor stuff, or jailer stuff if you want to think that. Executioner's rework. Executioner's now unique. Executioner now receives their target on day 1. Their target will always be a townie, and cannot be a town power or amnesiac. If the executioner's target is found guilty, the executioner will torment their target, completing their objective. Upon the executioner victory, the number of trials town gets per day is reduced to 1. If an executioner's target dies at night, they will turn into a jester. So, taking over some Town of Salem 1 stuff, this is a lot similar to Better TOS 2. Medusa is buffed. Stone Gaze now lingers on a player until they die. They will appear as stoned regardless of how they die. Without the Necronomicon, Medusa now can Stone Gaze their teammates. Interesting buff to Medusa. We'll talk in the Medusa video, and we'll talk in the tier list of if that really helps Medusa. Or maybe not. Poisoner. Poisoner rework. Poison has been removed. A lot of people have been complaining about that, but poison is really freaking weak. If there's a cleric, you're fine. Right? And so now smog has been added. When Poisoner uses their smog on a player, all visitors to that target will be blocked, receiving an unknown obstacle feedback. So basically, Poisoner has the ability to do Daybreak. Not Daybreak. Star Spawn. I don't know if, and I'm sure I'll find this out once I do Poisoner stuff, and I'm sure that Mystic will tell me, probably even in the comments down here, if Smog is an infinite ability, or it has 1 charge, or maybe multiple charges. Potion Master's nerfed. When Potion Master reveals a player with the reveal potion, that player will now be marked as illuminated, preventing a ritualist from performing a blood ritual on them for the following 2 nights. Witch minor rework, which is really a nerf. Controlling a player now reveals their role to the entire coven instead of just to the witch. Witch no longer is immune to parties. That's a buff. And that makes sense because witch can't be controlled that way or roadblocked that way generally, right? And when a witch reveals a player's role to the coven, that player will now be marked as illuminated, preventing the ritualist from performing a blood ritual on the following 2 nights. And then a ritualist nerf, a ritualist cannot perform a blood ritual on players marked as illuminated. So what this does is the synergy of Potion Master to Ritualist or Witch to Ritualist, that's now worse. It's harder to pull off. And that's a good nerf to those 3 roles. That's probably going to drop them down. Potion Master might be only A. We'll talk about that when we get to the tier list. Investigator. This is my first, which I understand why they did this, and we'll talk about this in a later video. Investigator reworked. Percept has been removed. I loved Percept. Investigating a player now reveals 2 crimes they could have committed. Murder, that player has attacked someone tonight, or trespassing that player has visited an opposing faction member at some point in the game. Investigator is very powerful and better to us too when I've played with it. Because trespassing comes out and then that player, someone's getting, sorry, long night, someone's getting the finger pointed at. And so that buffs Investigator, in my opinion. I don't think it makes it more fun to play, but I just personally don't like it. Spy rework. Bugs will no longer reveal what happened to a player at night or their passive effects. Now it will reveal what evil rolls have visited the player when triggered. I would like to see Spy, that bug, keep on until that player dies, but we'll see how this goes, and maybe that can, I'll throw that to Curtis or something, I don't know. Jester's nerfed, which this is common. Self-vesting has been removed, as Jester now has basic defense for the first 2 nights. Jester will now appear as Town to all Town investigatives. Jester now has a chatterbox mechanic. Every day, the Jester must send between 1 to 4 messages, or they will die of boredom at night. If a Jester fails to meet their chatterbox requirements before being hung, their wind will be invalidated. So this is countering the Jester meta of just don't talk, get hung, win. Which I think is fair. There'll be people that will complain, but it's countering a not fun meta. Necromancer, minor rework. Ghoul has been removed. Yes! That makes Necromancer just more fair in general. Necromancer can now use town-aligned corpses an infinite number of times. Good buff. Necromancer will now always take corpse priority over Retributionist. I thought that was the case the whole time, so good to know. Necromancer can now reanimate Conjure and Deputy, which is really funny. And it makes Conjures who don't throw their meteor more useful. Necromancer has received a new UI for choosing who to reanimate at night. We'll talk about in the tier list. Retributionist is a nerf for the most part, besides Deputy, the Deputy part. It's basically the same thing, except multiple Retributionists will take random corpse priority rather than being based on player number priority. Retributionist can now resurrect a Deputy, and Retributionist has a new UI. I think that's a little bit of a nerf just because of the number priorities, but having Deputy's nice. But Deputy's now a different role. Lookout is nerfed. Lookout's no longer astral, and Lookout has camouflage, making them invisible to Lookouts and other wildlings. That's better to us too. Wildling has the exact same thing, which is a buff for them, and a nerf for Lookout. They can't, double Lookout each other. Soul Collector comes over from Better Town of Salem 2's rework. Now collects souls of the reaped targets who die during the following day. Soul Collector will now permanently frame reaped targets as a Soul Collector to investigative roles, including Potion Master. If the 4 Horsemen modifier is enabled, frame players will appear as suspicious to sheriffs, otherwise they appear innocent. Prosecutor buff, Hangman has been removed, and so Prosecutor loses all their charges rather than just dies, which a useless townie, even though a revealed townie, is still a useless townie. Plague Bearer's buff, Plague Bearer now sees all infected coming over for Better Town of Salem 2. And Socialite has been buffed. Socialite is now control immune, which is interesting. I could see that being like a witch thing, where you witch the Socialite into things, and that was, difficult to handle. I could see that being I haven't seen that, and like Dragon didn't talk about that, but I could see that being a, meta to revolve around. Ranked has been disabled and will be re-enabled once the off-season is concluded. Ranked practice lists will change weekly. We'll be collecting data and feedback on each list to help decide what the final Season 4 ranked list should be. Larger changes to rank will be coming at the end of off-season. Bug fixes. Fixed Plague Bearer inconsistency, affecting roles that have higher priority than Plague Bearer. Fixed the randomized cosmetics option, causing in-game names to show as account names, and that was a bug. I thought that was supposed to be as expected. Fixed roll card data not appropriately updating when a player changes role mid-game. Fixed Enchanter altercation, canceling when swapping targets. That's nice. That was always a pet peeve. Fixed Town Trader occasionally getting the Necronomicon. Oh, that's funny. That's funny that was a bug. Fixed a bug allowing Coven Leader to attack their own team. Why has that never came up? I want the Coven Leader to attack the rest of the Coven. And then fix the endgame requeue panel showing inconsistently. And if you notice, it's Greek. Really pretty. That's probably some artwork. Some of the new artwork. I do want to see if some of the stuff is purchasable. Updated better time of Salem 2. Please hold. Do 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 do. Luigi is cool. So we're gonna go to shop. I don't know if the Greek stuff is ready right now. We're gonna check and see. Scroll. Can't get Oracle scrolls quite yet. Yep, and you can't get any of those quite yet. And that's okay. I'm sure that will come at some point. So, that is all. It's going to take me a while to get through this, and there's going to be so many changes. So the next thing I'm going to do is the tier list. I'm probably going to talk with Mystic and whatnot on what's does what. But that is all from me. I hope you enjoyed. We'll be covering the update more as much as I can, and we'll go over all the other things as well. Thank you. Have yourself a good day.